Right, well, yesterday the World Health Day was commemorated across the globe under the theme Invest in Our Planet. Studies report that as few as 7% of South African households recycle, even though we're aware of the environmental and ethical value of recycling. For this reason, the waste crisis continues as the need to produce, consume and manage our waste better remains a real challenge. To discuss corporate South Africa's role in investing in our planet, we are now joined via Zoom by Leanne Kiezer, Corporate Affairs Manager at Danone. A very good afternoon to you, Leanne. Thanks very much for joining us here once again on SABC News.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Let's talk about Earth Day and really its significance, especially at a time where we're seeing devastating natural disasters across the globe. And obviously one, links or tries to link it to what's happening globally.
Absolutely. So, International Earth Day is the perfect opportunity for all of us to acknowledge the problem and sort of draw a point in the ground where we say we need to intervene. And as you mentioned, the theme for this year is invest in our planet. And investing, in some ways can mean obviously financial investments. And this is where, corporate South Africa and other entities come around. But it's also worth mentioning that there is also an environmentally consciousness investment that needs to be made by consumers, because it's only through the efforts of everybody together collectively that we can actually shift the needle regarding climate change, regarding recycling, regarding sustainability. And so, what great occasion it is, International Earth Day, to bring this to a head and talk about it together.
Yeah, and one hopes that it's not just empty rhetoric when we say, with that particular theme, invest in our planet. And one wonders what corporate South Africa would then do, not just throwing money at a problem, but actually practically, doing something. What is that, and what do you encourage corporate South Africa to do, and what are you guys doing as Danone?
Well, the great news is that now more than ever, because of the recently published waste management regulations in South Africa, corporates, authorities, regulators, upcyclers, recyclers, we're all in a position where we've been sort of nudged more than ever before to work together and find solutions. So as you say, in this case, throwing money at the problem is not going to solve it. In fact, we all need to get together and really innovate solutions on how we can solve the problem. So, speaking specifically about corporate South Africa and what they can do, as brand owners, they have a responsibility to design the products and the material packaging their products with recyclability in mind. So you design to be recyclable. And that scope and responsibility is falling largely in the corporates. And, you asked what Danone was doing on this topic. And as an example, 99% of the packaging that we put onto the market today is already recyclable. And so that is one of the responsibilities.
Yeah.
But other than that, the exciting part is that innovation and what we can do with waste to convert it into something useful is one of the new developing areas where corporates, researchers, authorities can work together. And, another example of this is that recently we've discovered through innovation that the plastic used in yogurt tubs can actually be converted into lightweight bricks. And that those bricks can in turn be used to build classrooms or structures or buildings. So indeed, for now, what we can see is that waste can actually be repurposed to create something useful for communities and resources which are much needed.
Yeah.
And so, it's through innovation, it's through bright thinking, it's through developing new ideas that we can actually create solutions for waste.
I mean, we've spoken about corporate, but it's concerning. I'm looking at the fact that studies are reporting that as few as 7% of South African households actually recycle. And I know friends of mine have color-coded bins for their kids to throw in different materials. I don't have the time nor the energy, to be honest. And I wonder how practically, the South African, the rest of us, this terrible 93% left over, would be able to practically to recycle without going into such measures. But, what are some of the easy ways that would be able to, in fact, help out and indeed start to recycle in our own households?
We agree that is an alarming stat, and you think it should be much more because recycling seems to be so prevalent and so frequently discussed. what we've identified as Danone is actually that children are a very critical touch point for this education and for this message. And the reason for that is because, children receive this message perhaps at school or through, educational programs. They learn about the value of recycling and waste management, and then they in turn take that message home to their families and to their communities. And children are in fact ripples of change in their community, influencing us for the better. And so, educational programs, of course, can be targeted to consumers on a broad scale, but actually reaching children is a really important intervention because they are agents of change in their community. And this is also something that Danone has done. As part of its Tubs to Classrooms program, we are targeting children to communicate with them and teach them the value of recycling, hoping that that message spreads through their communities and influences change.
Yeah. All right. And let's talk about the effective ways. I like the fact that you're saying we should bring in children because they really can be an effective tool. But other effective ways to communicate for communities to engage in terms of reducing, especially when it comes to landfills, which is quite a big problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, is worth mentioning, first of all, is that we would really like to acknowledge waste pickers in South Africa as the absolute heroes of the recycling world. So you're familiar with those wonderful people who sort of, walk around on garbage day and collect recycling on our behalf. They do a phenomenal job. In fact, up to 90% of household waste is collected by waste pickers for recycling. So, really do some effort, even in your personal capacity as a consumer, to take care of those waste pickers because they are doing a phenomenal job and they are heroes. Otherwise, we'd really like to just implore consumers to choose well. When it comes to the food and drink choices that you make, pay attention to the information on the back of pack, the recycling logos. You'll learn quickly what they mean. Choose products more often which are recyclable, and then if they are recyclable, make sure they go into a recycling stream. The more that consumers choose products which are recyclable, the more pressure there will be upstream to continue to produce with recyclability in mind. So in fact, you have a huge influence in this regard. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that there is a misunderstanding among many consumers that if we drop litter or if we put, trash onto the streets, that this is a form of job creation because somebody, is then responsible for cleaning the streets. And so therefore we've created a job. And in fact, that's a really misrepresented, it's really a myth that needs to be busted. And in fact, if you as a consumer would like to support growing economies and job creation and innovation and, economic uplift, supporting the recycling economy is a much more sustainable way to do that. Not only building careers for individuals, to earn an income, but also then in turn to protect the planet as well. So, as Danone again, we really implore people to choose well, value the people who are already contributing to the planet, like waste pickers, like children learning these messages from school, and take responsibility for your own knowledge when it comes to recycling, because your influence does matter upstream.
All right, Leanne, thanks very much for giving us your time here on SABC News once again. Leanne Kiezer, Corporate Affairs Manager at Danone. Many thanks.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to take a short break. More news.